started. Welcome, everybody, to our book club. We are going through The Answer as part of our book club. And of course, The Answer written by John Assaraf and Murray Smith. And we're looking at this concept. How can I access unlimited abundance? That's the question that we're trying to get the answer to. And last time we reviewed chapter 2, The Search for How the World Works. And the homework that we did for chapter 2, we're going to discuss briefly before we start this evening. And hopefully you received the message. If you're not in the WhatsApp or the Telegram group, you definitely want to join it. I am placing updates and messages there. And I sent everybody a PDF in Telegram and WhatsApp that had kind of more detailed instructions about the homework assignment of reframing beliefs. So hopefully you found that. And also, I sent a message that this week we would be reviewing chapter 2 once again and discussing it more as a group before we went on to chapter 3. So if you read chapter 3, that's okay. We'll review chapter 3 next week. But chapter 2 was quite a lot of information, and some of it needs to be processed or thought about at maybe a deeper level. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time focusing on chapter 2, and where last week was primarily me presenting and reviewing the ideas in chapter 2. This week we want to spend a little time working together to discuss those. And so the homework for last week was to either through self-reflection or working in a journal to write about or think about beliefs that you possess or you have possessed about success, about how the world works, and then ask yourself, is that something that I've observed? Is that something that I learned from others and just accepted? Is that something that I grew up having reinforced in me, and then reframe it based on some of the things we have been learning in the last couple of chapters about thoughts and how they're connected to energy and to the idea of reality, and then taking that old belief and reframing it. And I'm just curious, I'll put people in groups in a second and have you share with your group any work that you did on the homework and what you might have experienced doing that. But I would like to get maybe one or two people sharing in the open forum before we do that. What was your experience um, in doing the homework, working on the homework assignment, and thinking about beliefs that you've had, consistent beliefs, past beliefs, and then doing work to reframe them? And how did you reframe those beliefs? Um, Anybody want to share with the whole group? Bela.
Hi. Uh, I thought it was a really good exercise because it showed me how far I have come from my conditioning to what I believe now as a person and how that is serving me to move ahead. So I really spent a lot of time on this, taking each belief and dissecting it, where it came from and how it changed and why it changed. So I thought it was a really wonderful exercise.
Bela, can you give us a specific example of one belief that you went through that process with?
Sure. Um, okay. Well, one of the beliefs, this was one of the last ones I did, was that money can buy happiness. This is the picture painted by our capitalist society and media that shows images of people living in the lap of luxury, seemingly enjoying a life of excess with no problems. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll just read to you what I wrote. I disagree that money buys happiness. The shiny new car, the fancy mansion, the designer wardrobe, etc., do not buy real happiness. They may bring a sense of satisfaction or belonging or an emotion that is fleeting in nature. It is a sense of euphoria that lulls the mind into a false sense of happiness. However, as soon as the novelty wears off, the underlying dissatisfaction or lack resurfaces and begins the pursuit of the next toy. My belief now is that when aligned with the highest good of all, money can bring about a feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction that can lead to happiness. It is the flow of the energy of connection, compassion, and commitment to do what benefits someone other than ourselves. This allows our hearts to expand as we share our good fortune.
That's awesome. You have the foundation for a great book right there. That's really, really deep and
I
nice.
really think about things, Jeff.
Yeah,
I
you
take it all very
absolutely do.
seriously.
Well, I think money and not having stress about money maybe facilitates things, but
Exactly.
absolutely money is not a doorway to happiness.
No.
Uh,
So I've seen people actually. I have a few in my family who have plenty of money and are always trying to convince me that why don't you care about money so much? And I say I do care about money. I care about how money serves me,
yeah,
but not that that is the end all and the be all. It is what it allows me to do to help me feel fulfilled because I feel like I have a purpose, and that purpose can be what's the word uh, manifested through sharing the money that I may make, not the fact of just having the money.
yeah. I saw
But the
that.
concept of money being the energy that really hit home because I watched many years ago. I watched this guy. His name is Jim Quick, and he's a Japanese financial guru. And he wrote a book about money and how the energy of money is what we hold on to, or we allow it to disappear when we disrespect it. So that was where I was going with it.
Okay, great. Bela, thank you so much. I saw a map recently and it color-coded countries into developed, developing, undeveloped in terms of their economy and modern systems. And, the United States is, of course, a developed country. Most of Western Europe was included. Places like Australia, Japan, developed countries. Developing countries included places like China, places like Brazil that are very modern, but not completely developed. There are a lot of parts of the society where people are still catching up and modernizing. And I did go to Brazil several times, and I have never found happier people on the place of the planet. And I didn't like, I was in this grocery store once, right? And I was trying to find something. This little kid came up to me and it's like, "Oh, you need something." And I speak enough, I speak Spanish quite well. And usually when I'm in Brazil, I speak Spanish, and the Brazilians understand what I'm saying, and they speak Brazilian back, and I kind of understand what they're saying. And anyways, he went and showed me and helped me find exactly what I was looking for. And the people there were just everywhere I went, really happy, wonderful people. And I never thought to say to somebody, don't you know you're in a developing country? Don't you know that you're not supposed to be this happy? But happiness is absolutely something that's distinct from that concept. Sherry.
Well, the truth is, I have not read the second or third chapter. I'm behind because I took a vacation and didn't carry the book with me. What you said though triggered something for me is that I had for the longest time a belief that in order to be successful, you had to work hard and people had to see you working hard. Like, I mean, I grew up with that, it was like sweat and schlep and you really had to put the effort in. And so I'm very happy that I have over the years and a lot of influences from NIKKEN and teachers I've had to understand that that's not true at all. And I actually have Maggie McKee got me an easy button on my desk. So now I have the opposite. I feel like if the success comes when things are in flow, when there's ease. And that was a complete game changer for me.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, two really good examples. Thank you, Shara. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Bela. Of mind shifts, of looking at perspectives, beliefs in different ways. I'm going to ask you to join a group, and if each person will take about 90 seconds, I'll let you know when it's time to move on to the next person. Each group will have three people. Just kind of share in doing the homework assignment. And if you didn't have time, think about the idea of in the past, beliefs you've had that you've shifted over time that have to do with this idea of abundance, of success, of creating your dream life, of having what you want, of being deserving, of making things happen, and how you shifted your mindset, your thought, your beliefs regarding those things. And if it's connected to what we've been reading in the book in chapter one, chapter two, that would be great. So I'll go ahead and put you in the room, join your room. Each person will have about 90 seconds to share a specific belief, if you can, and how it shifted or changed or how you reframed it. Okay, go ahead and join your group. So right now, people are in their rooms and they're sharing a belief, a perspective that they shifted, that they changed as a result of reframing it, looking at it in a new way, in a different way. And this is from the homework that we did after reading chapter two. And it's not necessarily an assignment that's focused on that looks at judging old beliefs. It's just observing what they are, and then rewiring them or beginning a process of changing what the beliefs are. So this is almost like doing what Galileo did in observing and seeing the solar system from a different perspective, not with the Earth at the center, but with the sun at the center. So it's challenging assumptions that might have been inherited or learned or conditioned, and then shifting the focus and thinking about how the world might work, how it might operate through making a decision to accept different beliefs or new ideas. I'm going to go ahead and tell the group for the next person to go ahead and start. An example of this might be to identify a specific belief, right? So something like hard work alone guarantees success, or you have to be lucky to get ahead. And then asking yourself, after identifying that belief, um, is this based on observation, on evidence, on something that I've actually seen factually, or something that I just accepted? And the idea is to take the belief that might not necessarily be helpful or beneficial and reframe it into a new belief. For example, hard work alone guarantees success. That might be reframed as success comes from aligned energy, belief, and inspired action. You have to be lucky to get ahead. That could be reframed as I can influence my reality by directing thought and energy towards my goals. So those allow one to think about their place in the world, their interaction with the world in a different way. And based on what we've been learning in chapter 2, it could allow someone to align more fully with the possibility that their thoughts actually are energy that can create reality, that there can be alignment with energy, with quantum possibility, with conscious creation, um, and an alignment with how the world works, the universe works, how reality works. So the last person is going to be going in our group discussion. But this assignment, in many ways, it's rooted in some of the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, on shifting your consistent patterns of thought through what you focus on, what you think about most of the time, ideas, principles in neuroscience, and some of the energetic insights that we've introduced thus far in the answer. So this homework, which I posted and I'll post again for people to work on this week, um, this homework hopefully was beneficial to people as they worked on this concept, this idea of reframing, having a shift in some of their beliefs or their thoughts or their ideas. So that was the homework that people worked on and that people are sharing right now. And everybody's going to be coming back in about 30 seconds. Welcome back, Nancy. You're back with us now.
I prematurely left the group. I
Oh
pushed the wrong
no.
button. I
Oh
meant to
no.
go back.
Welcome back, everybody. Barbara Richmond, Lorraine, Ron, and Renee. Did you have 3 or 4 people in your group? I see
We
Barbara.
had four. We had four. Barbara Satterwhite
Oh,
was
is there
in.
one person who didn't get a share?
Barb
Yeah.
Satterwhite.
Barb, do you want a Satterwhite? Barb Satterwhite. Barb, do you want a Satterwhite? Barb, do you want to share with the whole group about a belief that you've reframed either over the last week or in your life that's been beneficial since you didn't get a chance to share in your small group?
Well, it's interesting because I really don't. I don't have any preconceived thoughts about that, or I didn't have any pressure put on me about things. I don't know how to explain that, but the only thing is in my mind, it wasn't that anybody said it, but you know, you expected to go to school and get a job, but um, I don't know. I really don't have the deep-seated thoughts.
Barb's other people, I would challenge that. You got to dig deeper. That can't be true, but I know you. So, I think one of the reasons you have such ease with talking to people is you don't have any of those or a lot of those preconceived notions about the world or people or how things work. And so there's not really a lot of fear about the world.
Non-judgmental, Jeff. She's non-judgmental.
I'm
So
talking about,
people go to her because they know they're not being
yeah,
judged
yeah,
or
okay, that's
criticized
another a
or
good way to put it.
preconceived.
But yeah, I think, Barb, I think what you just explained fits into your personality and how you interact with the world perfectly. So I don't think that's common. I don't think that's a common experience, but I think that has been your experience, right?
Well, I can say, I wouldn't say I'm non-judgmental because I certainly have been judgmental, but I guess all I'm trying to, in my mind, think of, as a child, I didn't have pressures about you must do this, you must do that. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I
Yeah,
guess
there
I
weren't
was
a lot of
fortunate.
musts.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And
Anyway,
that doesn't mean there wasn't accountability or responsibility. It just meant for you there weren't musts.
well, all I
Your
can tell
parents were evolved.
Yeah, well, all I can tell you is my mother died when I was 13, so I automatically became responsible and had a wonderful father that was very respectful and so it's all, I mean, I don't want to belabor it, but my point is I never felt like I had to do anything, but I just did it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Sorry.
So hopefully that gave some insights into other people's experience with doing this exercise. I think this is something that's beneficial to work on consistently. And I think throughout this book, reframing some of our beliefs or how we have considered or interacted with the world previously will be helpful as we progress through the book. And it may be that new ideas come up and we say to ourselves, you know what? It's time to change this idea or how I think about this in terms of me, my business, my entrepreneurial endeavors. Anna,
I wanted to share just a way to kind of help find those beliefs sometimes because I've done a lot of belief work and then it's like, well, how do I find what's keeping me from getting to my desired goal? And that's kind of the question I ask is what is keeping me from getting to that desired goal? What beliefs am I not not aware of that are maybe so it's like in writing things down, that journal, I love journaling, is so helpful. And then it's like, okay, now I see what I need to change in order to get there. Sometimes it's like, I don't think I can reach my goal in the amount of time. So it's like, well, what would I need to do to reach my goal in my desired time frame? So it's just learning to rephrase and ask different questions to help move my belief along.
Anna, thank you. And you raise a good point. I think if some people didn't do this, you might want to consider doing this in the same way Bela did, which is actually writing, is to journal, is to write. We think in a different way when we write our thinking. It's more processed, it's often more logical. We put more thought into the ideas that we are creating, and often people get different kinds of results when they think by writing, when they do their thinking through the process of writing. So you may want to consider that as we move ahead, that you work on reframing beliefs or searching for ways to remove barriers or beliefs that are keeping you from moving forward, that you do what Anna just mentioned, and that you journal, that you write in helping you to do that process. Madeline?
Well, one of those beliefs that I remember growing up with was money doesn't grow on trees. And to get a good job, you go to school and get an education. And so I did that. My parents didn't have a formal education, and that was very important to them. And so then when I couldn't have babies, it was one degree after another. And then it was too many degrees, and then you were overqualified. And the paradigm shift for me, and that the number of HBMs, looking back, what I did after the class last week, I pulled up my bag and I have about 19 life cycle charts from 1998 until whenever the last time we did a live one, where I've kept adding and I have the dates on it. And it was absolutely profound for me to look through all of them and to see certain themes that were in every single one and to see the pictures of what has happened. And what I think, Anna, it was that Anna that was just talking, Anna Allen. I don't know how long you've been in NIKKEN, but what I see is the difference from since COVID, from before COVID. And Jeff, even though the online ones are nice, just like this, it's nice to see one another. It's nice to be together, but there's nothing like a live HBM. There's nothing like a live convention. And those of us that have the relationships that we have, it's because of sharing rooms, being there together, knowing one another, traveling together, and the significance of those life cycle charts. And I think the rhythm of the business where there was doing and accountability, not kind of sitting back, and sort of what's happened. And the other thing that's happened is the change to so much online and so much that isn't that personal contact. So I guess I'm saying a couple different things here to answer the question of what the subject was about. Changing our mindset. I made a lot of progress, and then I think I fell back into not such good habits. And just like that one slide on the better way that we do, the habit 30 days in a row or 3 months in a row or whatever it is, it's been easier to get into some habits which don't have the structure, accountability, and events, going from one event to another that's a live event where you have a lot of people coming in and so forth. So a lot has really changed in the last 10 years. And I'm glad to see that we're having more hybrids, hopefully coming up, and that we're emphasizing that and that we're having this kind of a course again. I think the timing for this now, this class, this book, before the 50th convention, before we end this year, before we begin next year, is really perfect. And just looking at who's here and who stayed here and who's been consistent, it's important because we've been a good team in helping one another.
Madeline, thank you. Yeah, next year is 51.
Yep.
We start 51. We start the next 50.
Yeah.
So, chapter 2, Chapter 2, a complex chapter. Galileo, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, lots of ideas raised. This idea, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. And this idea of everything literally being energy was kind of a springboard for John Assaraf in figuring out what was in the box, which was his life cycle plan, and an image on it literally manifesting, unbeknownst to him, in his life, this dream home in San Diego. And the idea raised that really, I think, is an idea that I want us to discuss, and we'll go a little longer tonight than just 30 minutes, but I want us to have one more discussion as a group about this idea of everything being energy, and specifically the idea of non-locality. That's where it stems from. This idea that nothing really exists until it's observed. Matter isn't anything. Reality isn't anything yet. That something must occur before it can become something. So matter is just literally potential and possibility. That's all it is. That's what non-locality means. That until it's observed, you don't really create something. That before it's observed, matter is just a wave. It's everywhere. It's spread out. It's a wave that's moving through space and time. But when it's observed, the particle becomes localized. It actually becomes something in a specific place. And Heisenberg and Bohr um, discovered this idea of the 0 point field. And this idea is that the 0 point field exists below the place of electrons and neutrons and protons, below the atom. It's the empty space everywhere that's really this quantum field of infinite potential, where something can exist and occur, but only when it's observed or thought about. And we looked at Evan Laszlo, Carl Jung, Teilhard de Chardin, and their ideas that coalesced into this idea that thought creates everything. That it is literally our thoughts that observe the universe, and then our thoughts that cause reality to exist. The secret to our success then lies in controlling our thoughts. And so, because it's the idea that precedes the thing, it may be that the idea, the concept, the thought that was in the box is what preceded the reality. So, I'd like us to have a discussion. What do you think of this idea that thought creates everything? That it's literally your thoughts, your observations, your awareness that creates the universe, that creates reality, that creates your existence, that creates your experience. So I'm going to put you back into your groups. And I don't know if you did any further research on the concepts of the 0 point field or non-locality, some of the quantum concepts that are in chapter 2. We had talked about maybe reading chapter 2 again and doing some more research into that. But I would like you to share your thoughts with your group. What are your ideas? What are your thoughts about the concept that your thoughts actually create your world, that they create the world that you experience? So that's the prompt for the discussion. So I'll put you back into your groups. You'll be with new people this time, and I'm going to put you in groups of 4, and we're going to take about 8 minutes. I won't send any messages. So just have a discussion over the next 8 minutes about that concept. Do your thoughts create everything? Do they create the world? Yes or no? What do you think? And if you want to make it connected, if you want to connect it to any of the concepts in chapter 2, that's great. Anybody have any questions before we start our discussion? Okay, go ahead and join your group. Does thought create everything? Go ahead. So everyone has joined their group and they're having their conversations in their group.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Dawn Marie.
So I haven't been routed to a group.
Let me add you to a group now and see if you can accept. So everybody is in their group answering. We're discussing this question: does thought create everything? Yes, that I think is the answer. it's a really interesting concept that that this idea of the 0 point field. This is really the concept that is most important here. It's essentially the idea that at the quantum level, when all measurable energy is removed, there are these tiny fluctuations that still remain. So there are no atoms, there's no protons, electrons, neutrons. There are no subatomic particles. There's no energy. Everything is removed. There are these little tiny fluctuations that still remain. And they've called these fluctuations 0 point energy. It's the lowest possible energy state of a system. And even when you get down to absolute zero, the coldest possible temperature where there can be no movement or energy, it still exists. And the vacuum, this vacuum of space, is actually buzzing with potential teeming virtual particles that flicker in and out of existence, in and out of existence. And this background field is what they call the 0 point field. So this is coming directly from science. This has been observed that this exists. And in the answer, the 0 point field in the book we're reading is described as a universal field of consciousness and energy. That the source of all creation, thought, intention, vibration, begin to shape reality, that it comes from this field. So it's a space of infinite potential. It's a space that is perhaps beyond time and space. And it might be the bridge between science and what ancient traditions have called God, the divine, the collective mind, the universe, however you want to describe it. But the reason why this might be important to us as we read the answer is Assaraf and Smith are proposing that your thoughts are energy, and that when you focus your thoughts with emotion and belief, you influence the 0 point field. So this interaction can bring opportunities, people, circumstances into alignment with your intention. And this may be a scientific explanation for the idea of manifestation, prayer, intuition, synchronicity. So a very interesting concept. Um, Essentially, the 0 point field is an invisible, intelligent sea of energy that connects all things and responds to your thoughts and beliefs. So, a very interesting concept. So, in about 5 minutes, we're going to be having the group returning from their discussions. So 3 more minutes and everyone's going to be back and we'll start again to wrap up. Our book club this evening. We're going to do a kind of a recap of the concept of the 0 point field with the group. And then we'll give the homework assignment, which will be to continue what the group did last week and to read chapter 3. Everybody will be back in about 10 seconds and then we'll resume. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you benefited from the conversations that you had with your group. I want to try and recap a concept that's shared in this chapter. This idea of the 0 point field, this quantum field of infinite potential that's influenced by your thought. And I think it's important. I'm essentially kind of reading between the lines in sharing, this summary. But I think the 0 point field and the ideas connected to it are important to understand to really get this chapter. So in science, at the quantum level, and this is when we get down to the level of particles, of atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, and even below that, the quantum particles, the little tiny particles that make up those particles. When you remove not just those particles, but also measurable energy from space, so there is no even energy. Remove all of that, and you get down to just the space between all of that. There are still these tiny fluctuations that still exist. And even when you get down to absolute zero, right? So 0 degrees Kelvin. So this is where everything is so cold that there is no movement, that everything is frozen. There's no, measurable energy. There are still these little fluctuations, even at that level, called 0 point energy. And this has been observed. They've observed these through very sophisticated instruments. And this vacuum then of space, it's not really empty. it's actually buzzing with this potential, with these fluctuations, with these virtual particles that flicker in and out of existence. So they're there and then they're not there. They're there and then they're not there. And this background field is called the 0 point field. It's constantly in the state of existing, not existing. It's pure potential. It's pure possibility. And when we connect it with the answer, the 0 point field is described as, in our chapter, this universal field of consciousness and energy. So, in some ways, it's the source of all creation. It's where thought, intention, and vibration begin to shape reality within the 0 point field. It's this space of infinite potential, and it literally exists beyond time and space. It's just potential. And I think what John Assaraf is trying to do is bridge trying to figure out what happened with the box is to make this bridge be between science and some of the ancient traditions, ancient parts of human society that we've called God, the divine, the collective mind, the universe. But the reason it may be important to us is that in the answer, the idea is proposed that your thoughts, what you are thinking, is energy. And when you focus your thoughts with emotion, with belief, you may be or you are influencing the 0 point field, this space of unlimited potential. And that interaction between your thoughts, which are energy, and this 0 point field, this unlimited possibility, that's where opportunities, people, circumstances can all come into alignment with your intentions, whatever those might be. So it might be a scientific explanation behind manifestation, prayer, intuition, synchronicity, if you're open to considering that. Um, and hopefully that explanation gives us some idea of what might be explained or what John Assaraf is trying to explain in this chapter. Sherry.
Quick question. Is that, I don't know if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks and how they describe it, but is that the vortex? Is
Yeah, there
that
are lots
considered the
of
vortex?
different ways of describing it. There are lots of different names. Last week we went through the noosphere. We went through some of the names that people
Okay.
have coined for this space of possibility that exists.
Okay.
But I think it's actually really exciting. I think this concept or idea is quite an exciting concept or idea that we are looking at here in chapter 2. Anybody have something they want to share about what they discussed with their group? I know we've gone over tonight, but I did want to cover this material in a way that we could discuss it and look at it a little deeper. Bela?
I had an observation to make because as we get divided into these groups, I'm new in NIKKEN, so I don't know a lot of people, but I am pretty much on all the calls. So what I've realized is the theory of resonance and this non localization. We're from all parts of North America, yet if you think about it, we all resonate at a similar frequency because that's what's brought us together in this one community. And it's really mind-boggling if you think about it. We all seem to have the same set of values, pretty similar, right? And there's the proof. There's the proof of resonance, proof of non-localization right there. Something drew us. It's the energy. We gravitate towards like energy. So that I just want to share that.
Yeah, that's a really cool manifestation of the principle actually happening in reality. And I agree with you 100%. We have a community of like-minded people who want to make themselves and the world they live in a better place.
Place.
Yeah, and that's a very cool thing. So, chapter 2, the search for how the world works. Please work on the homework. Keep working on the homework. I'll post it again if you missed the PDF that has more detailed explanations. Keep thinking about how your beliefs, your thoughts about the concepts that we're learning, how you might reframe past thoughts or beliefs. We will meet next week and we will do chapter 3 of the Law of Attraction. So if you've already read it, you're good to go. If you haven't read it, please read chapter 3. And next Wednesday, same time, we will review chapter 3. Homework, once again, is to do a mindset shift or belief shift, journaling or self-reflection this week. So thanks everybody for joining us for our NIKKEN University Book Club and participating. We will see everyone next week. Thanks everybody.